Minahan's visit to the Krieg School outside Berlin.
Kriegschule.
Kriegschule.
Which is in
War school.
Which is in Potsdam.
In Potsdam. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
In Potsdam.
Yeah,
oh,
right
okay.
there.
Okay.
And anyways, they gave us quite a reception there and showed us the whole layout and everything. And then we left there and headed up to Denmark, to Copenhagen. And while I was there, I wrote a bread and butter thank you letter to Rittmeister von Ahlefeldt, thanking him for all the courtesies and hospitality. Never heard from him because he was doing my job as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, and we continued on up through the Scandinavian countries and ended up going home. But when the war was over, and I was stationed in Heidelberg, Third Army, I asked our intelligence people, "Did you ever find out what happened to this Rittmeister von Ahlefeldt?" And they just checked the files with the Germans and found, yes, he had been eventually promoted to a 4-star general and he was fought on the Russian front.
Wow.
And then I said, well, is he still alive? I said, yeah, he's living up in a town of Bellevue, up in the British area of occupation. So I made contact with the British to find out if I could visit them. I got the okay.
Excuse me, Colonel, excuse me, but are you still Lieutenant Colonel now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and I was about to go up there, and I got word from the British that he had died a couple of days before.
Oh, wow.
Old age. Then, when I got back to the, this was back in, I was stayed in Germany until 1946. Wait, no, to 47, when I was ordered back to the States to be instructor at the Field Artillery School. And while
At Fort Sill.
Yeah.
Okay.
While I was there, my mother back in Lawrence, Mass. Got this letter addressed to me, German handwriting, she didn't know what it was. And I opened it up. And it was from this woman who told me that she had been poking around in the ruins of this old house in Potsdam looking for food and other things for her daughter. And she found this letter that I had written to Rittmeister von Ahlefeldt back in August of 39.
Uh-huh.
And she had taken the liberty of writing to me and asking me if I could arrange to send her a food parcel through UNRWA for her and her daughter.
Yes.
Well, I arranged for that, and I wrote back to her and asked, did she know what happened to the people who live in the house? And she wrote back and said, no, the house was completely destroyed by bombing, and there's nobody around who lived in the house over there. What fascinated me is the fact that he had kept that letter that I had written to him.
Well, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Also, it's really fascinating that you were right there socializing with the German army as a second lieutenant,
Yeah.
right on the eve
Yeah.
of their blitz into Poland.
We got back in Boston the day they invaded Poland.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. That was right
September
after
1st, wasn't it?
Yeah, Labor Day.
Was it Labor? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Sir, we talked a little bit about your relationship with civilians and POWs. How would you generally characterize your attitudes towards your relationships with and attitudes towards our allies? British soldiers, French soldiers, I don't know, whatever allied.
The British soldiers
military.
that I met, I was very much impressed by, particularly the British Army officers. Now, they have an entirely different theory of command compared to us. They're supposed to be a democracy, but their army is anything but democratic compared to ours.
Okay.
And there's a big barrier between the officer, the enlisted man, and the soldier. Actually, it's the enlisted men that run the army in the British system. The officers sit back like a board of directors.
Okay. In other words, the NCO is
the boss.
much more the driver of the the program.
He runs the show. The officer gives him a general order, and the NCO carries it out. First sergeant is a powerful figure in the British Army.
And they would actually,
and the sergeant major too.
in other words, the officers would be less involved in, I don't know how to put this, but NCOs would get together and decide how to get things done.
No, they don't decide. They're told. They work out the details.
Exactly, yeah. As opposed to the junior, more so NCOs rather than junior officers.
Junior officers are, you might say, the morale leaders. The British lose an awful lot of young officers leading the attack. The soldier doesn't see him most of the time in barracks, but when they're at the front, platoon leaders in particular, they got their sword out and they're leading, just like you see these pictures of Civil War officers leading.
When you say their sword out, you mean literally?
Yeah.
And even in the Second World War?
Oh yeah.
They literally had their sword out?
Yeah, a lot of them carried swords.
What in the sword? What's a sword?
Well, they didn't have it. It was a symbol.
I mean, it was literally a symbol, sort of like a drummer or a regimental flag carrier.
They didn't have a sword. They had a swagger stick. They'd be leading the attack with a swagger stick.
Were they expected to expose themselves more than? I mean, there's kind of. If everybody's hunched down, you're a little less hunched down. You're standing a little taller.
That's supposed to be visible, right up there in front, visible.
Then that's quite foreign to our way of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see, their losses are tremendous. The other thing about the British Army really impressed me. Those with disabilities that would have been the reason for a physical discharge in our army, they were still there at the front. You see, I've seen British major with one arm missing, British captain with one eye missing, with an eye patch over the missing eye. Saw that quite often.
Oh, that's interesting. So they have a different attitude towards disability then, huh?
Yeah.
How about other armies, or any other comments about the British Army, or any comments about the French?
Well, I saw very little of the French as units. The closest we came to was the Battle of Argenton. On our left flank was the 2nd French Armored Division, and I was watching them, and they appeared to be doing nothing. And we found out later that, what's his name, I'm trying to think of the French general who was along command. He had...
You mean de Gaulle?
No,
Not de Gaulle.
No.
Was de Gaulle there at that time?
No,
was he in France then?
No, not Paris had not been liberated.
Yeah, no, he liberated Paris, right?
No, he didn't. No, that's
French troops.
We liberated.
Well, I know that, but I mean, I shouldn't put it that way. Didn't they permit de Gaulle to kind of pretend like he had liberated France? And
What happened is, I'm thinking of this other general, actually. Anyways, he had given orders to this 2nd French Armored Division not to get committed.
Yes.
And after the Battle of
Yes.
he got permission to pull them out and march on Paris
Mhm.
as part of Third Army. Actually, it was the 4th American Infantry Division that got into Paris first. And then when they got on the suburbs, they were ordered to halt and let the 2nd French Armored Division in to get the honor and the glory.
Okay.
Then de Gaulle came in later after.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I knew they wanted to let the French at least appear to be liberating Paris, which, okay. Any other comments about other Allied troops?
No, I say, other than that, I have little contact with the French.
Did you have any strong feelings about American men of draftable and, military service age who didn't serve? Did you have any personal feelings there, like, hey, these guys should be over here helping us, or?
No, it's up to the draft board.
That was out of your. Yeah. You didn't think much about that. You didn't worry about that.
No, I didn't think about that at all.
Okay, all right. Well, Colonel Minahan, what I'd like to do, if this, again, with your permission, is just spend as we've been talking here for quite some period of time, we'll let you and me both relax and rest here. But what I'd like to do is, and I'm just repeating what I said a few minutes ago for the benefit of the tape here. If you could spend a few minutes summarizing your Army career subsequent to World War II, which was interesting.
All right.
But briefly, and then perhaps we can meet again maybe next spring at your 314th Battalion reunion next spring and talk about that in more detail.
Okay. All right. As I told you, I was in spring of 47. I was ordered back to the States to be an instructor at the artillery school at Fort Sill.
Okay.
And I was only there a couple of months when I was ordered to Fort Leavenworth to take the regular course at the Command General Staff College.
Yes, sir.
Finishing in the class of 48. When I finished there, I was as an instructor at the Command General Staff College until September of 50.
Okay, so 48 to 50 at...
51.
51, so like 3 years there.
That's right, 51.
At Leavenworth.
4. 1 year as a student, 3 years as an instructor.
Okay,
September
yes, sir.
51.
Yes, sir. Okay.
In 51, I was ordered to Washington, D.C., and ended up being loaned to the Central Intelligence Agency for a couple of years for a special job.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
is it the case you still can't talk about that job today, or is it?
Well, in general terms, I say
it was intelligence gathering,
and involved planning for unconventional warfare in Europe in the event the Russians moved west.
Okay.
Never came about because that never happened. Concurrent with that assignment, I ended up as a White House aide to President Harry Truman.
Okay, now this, let me get my dates here right. This is 51 to
53.
53, okay.
But Harry Truman's last year in office as one of his White House aides.
Okay.
And then...
Are you a colonel then?
Yes.
When did you get promoted to colonel, full colonel?
About 52.
So it was while you were in this CIA / White House assignment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I was a White House aide for President Eisenhower for a couple of months. And then I was ordered back to Europe then it was Headquarters Army Europe, again in Heidelberg, as Chief of Combat Developments in Europe. And
you've spent a lot of time at Leavenworth. This is right up your alley, right? Combat development.
Yeah.
Right.
Then in 54, it was in June of 54, I was ordered back to be a student at the Army War College at Carlisle Barracks. and I graduated the class of '55. And I was ordered to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, to command the 41st Field Artillery Group, which consisted of 5 field artillery battalions of various caliber. And I was there a year. I was ordered to Continental Army Command, which is headquartered in Virginia.
Belvoir?
No,
Virginia.
big.
A.P. Hill. No, it's too small.
No. Headquarters.
Near Washington, D.C.?
Not too far away.
Not Fort Myer or...
Oh, Fort...
Fort Lee?
Monroe.
Oh, Monroe. Oh, Fortress Monroe.
Yeah.
Hampton Roads.
Yeah,
huh?
right, yeah.
Okay. Konark. That's Konark?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Again, in combat developments.
Okay.
And this is how I first got involved with the University of Michigan. I was sent up as a liaison officer to monitor this $5 million research contract that the University of Michigan had with the Department of Defense in research in the sciences to develop new techniques for combat surveillance and target acquisitioning. Involved research in radar, infrared, seismics, acoustics, television, everything under the sun. Yeah. And I was there in that job until 1959, when I was ordered to Tehran, Iran, as Chief of Staff of the Military Advisory Group to the Imperial Iranian Armed Forces. And I was there.
So the head there was a brigadier general, and you were his chief of staff? Is that how that worked?
No, this is the chief of the
MAG?
Of the MAG was a major general.
Major general.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was his chief of staff.
Okay.
We had a big group there. We had about 200 as advisors, infantry, armor, artillery, Air Force, and Navy, and how to use the equipment we were giving them.
Uh-huh. So this is 59 until...
Till 61,
Okay.
when I was ordered back to the States to the 11th Corps in St. Louis, Missouri, initially as Chief of Staff and later as Deputy Commander of the Corps. And I retired in 64, St. Louis.
Okay. Well, is there anything else in particular you want to say,
That's about it.
Colonel Minahan? Okay. Well, again, let me, on behalf of me personally and also the University of Tennessee, the Center for the Study of War and Society, let me tell you thank you very much for your time. And I hope, again, to meet with you again maybe next spring and explore your post-World War II experiences in more detail. It should be very interesting. For the tape purposes, we are now at 1:20 p.m. in the afternoon.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
Yes, sir.